Ooh, what's up, guys? Welcome to this edition of a Funko Podcast. I am DK Wrestler, and today my co-host MD Shady is actually not here, but we do have a special guest co-host for this specific edition of a Funko Podcast. My guest has 2,600 subscribers on his YouTube channel, which covers Funko, anime figures, and convention coverage. He's at interviews with names such as Frederick B. Owens and Renee Jacobs, and he's also interviewed Chris Van Vliet, which I am a little bit jealous of. My guest today is, of course, Spencer from Combo Collectibles. Welcome to a Funko Podcast.
Hey, how's it going, buddy? Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining here, because I feel like if MD and I were to have done a anime-related podcast just ourselves with the little to no knowledge we have combined, I feel like this would end up being like the most disliked YouTube content since the music video for Justin Bieber's Baby.
And that's saying something.
So for today, it is the best of anime. Glad once again that I have Spencer here because he's going to be able to help me out tremendously. We have a list of 10 different animes we're going to be going through. And of course, because it is a Funko Popcast after all, we will talk about some pops relating to these animes. We got an honorable mention section because we know there's going to be people in the comments that are going to be like, why didn't you talk about this? Why didn't you talk about that?
Yeah.
So that's going to be the time that we're going to be talking about that. And then we have a quick little segment at the end, which is going to be a fun little game that I actually haven't done in a long time. So this is going to be fun to end off on that.
Ooh, sounds
so
like
you,
fun.
Yeah, so you ready for this, Spencer?
I'm always ready to talk about anime. I could talk about anime and Funkos for hours, bro.
I felt like the best one to start off with is, of course, the Dragon Ball Z series, or just Dragon Ball in general. Dragon Ball's had so many different series, the first being Dragon Ball itself from 1986 to 1989. Dragon Ball Z being probably the popular one out of the bunch from 1989 to 1996. Dragon Ball GT from 1996 to 1997, and Dragon Ball Super from 2015 to 2018. There were some other ones, but of course, being in the Funko world, those are the four big ones I think that Funko has done pops for. Dragon Ball for sure, I've only seen like clips of it for the most part. I don't think I've seen a full-on episode, but I feel, and you could probably answer this, is it easy to say that like mainstream-wise, Dragon Ball's like the most popular anime? Because I feel like even the casual person will know of it even without having watched a single episode.
It's definitely one of the most recognizable. Like, even if you're not into it or you don't know the characters as much, you show any random person a picture from Dragon Ball, they're going to know what it's from. Especially Goku. He's probably one of the most recognizable characters. Now, I'm not looking to start a fight about who the best character is with other people, but it's definitely among, I'd say, the top one or two animes that's most recognizable around the world right now.
And what are your thoughts overall of Dragon Ball?
I love it. It's one of my favorites. I have a couple hundred Dragon Ball pops behind me right now. I actually watched Dragon Ball Z before I had seen the original Dragon Ball show, because when I was a kid, it was on YTV. I would rush home from school to watch Z every day. I loved it. And then when I kind of went back to anime in my adulthood, I had rewatched Z and I went, I've never seen the original. I should really go back to give this some context, right? And if you watch Z on its own, it's super epic. It's amazing. But then when you go back and see Dragon Ball and what actually led up to the measly little power levels they had at the beginning of Z, it really puts it in perspective of how ridiculously strong these people are. So if you haven't watched OG Dragon Ball, I do recommend it. It's a little more silly, kind of adventure-y. There's a lot more comedy aspects to it, but like, it's a really enjoyable show. The fights are pretty good. And like I said, it really puts the rest of the series in perspective.
I love how you mentioned about YTV, because the last couple of weeks here on the podcast, we had Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network as the topics. And I brought up YTV because here in Canada, we didn't have Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon for like specific channels at the time. It was either Teletoon or YTV. So it's funny how I guess 3 weeks in a row, here on the podcast, we talk about the word YTV in a way. But as terms to Funko Pops, I only have a few that I listed. I'm sure you can name off a bunch, especially looking at the back wall right now as I'm looking through the camera. I think the big one we got to talk about is that New York Comic-Con Toy Tokyo exclusive Planet Arlia Vegeta, the most expensive. It also, if you're trying to look for it, can be the most faked produced pop of all time because there's so many listings. So anyone out there, if you see a listing that says $30 and it's from China,
don't buy it.
Don't buy it. Over 9,000 Vegeta, I think, is another one I'm going to talk about because, of course, that's also become like meme worthy at this point.
So iconic.
A pop I do enjoy also during a little bit of the early years of the channel is the glow-in-the-dark Perfect Cell Emerald City
Oh
Comic Con
yeah.
2020, mainly because of the glow not just being one color. It was like the whole entire pops. He had green, yellow, blue. MD had it. I don't know if he still has it. He might have sold it, but I know he did have it at one point.
It's actually funny you brought up the Planet Arlia. Like years ago when I first like they first started doing the Funko Pops, I actually saw Planet Arlia for sale, like relatively cheap compared to what it is now. It was still, I don't know, like 100 or 200 bucks or something, but it was before they had really spiked in value. And I looked at it and I was like, oh, that was one scene from the anime. They only showed that for like 10 seconds. That's kind of a stupid Funko. And I didn't buy it. And now I wish that I would have bought it because I'll never see one again.
Yeah, like when I went to Niagara Falls
Yeah.
Comic Con last year, pardon me, someone sold one for $6,000 Canadian. It's kind of hard to come by, especially if it's the real one and not those Chinese knockoffs for $30 on eBay.
I'm almost tempted to buy a knockoff just to have it on the shelf because it looks cool, but like it'll bother my OCD knowing that I have a fake pop on the
Yeah.
shelf. So I can't do it.
That'd be the
Can't
same
do it.
thing with MD Shady and his Stranger Things collection. There's that like gold hopper that's like 40 pieces that I feel like you can
Oh
just grab
yeah.
the regular hopper and spray paint it gold and then just put it on there with the, but then like, yeah, I feel like the OCD kind of thing would kick in. It's like, I know that's fake. I can't have that.
No one else would know, but we would know.
Yeah. All right. So the next anime is One Piece. Of course, a huge anime, especially in the Funko world now. I think it was like the number
Yeah.
one like sold license as terms to Funko Pops. October 20th, 1999, and it's still going today. Of course, I have not seen One Piece, and I'm not sure the likeliness of me seeing it because of the commitment I need to make. Because even in the first season, it's like 64 episodes, and it just ranges. I know it's not like the same number of episodes per season. And I remember, I want to say it's one of the newer ones has like 200. I'm like, how do you make a series that's 200 episodes? But I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, that's going to be a huge commitment. It does look awesome though. And I know that recently there is the live action adaptation on Netflix, which may be the way that I end up watching because that's like the shorter version of that I can watch it at the moment. But maybe one day. It does look awesome. And like the Funko Pops are just terrific. Like on our podcast,
Yeah.
for our best and worst last year, there's a section of current pop series. I voted One Piece as the best because One Piece has those set of pops that like I don't know if there's a bad pop, not gonna lie. Even the worst pop of the set doesn't look as bad as, let's say, like, I don't know, like gold chrome and red chrome and whatever specification Funko likes throwing out and pouring that gasoline on it. But One Piece does look awesome.
Yeah, One Piece has some cool pops. It's like you said, it's kind of a daunting series to get caught up on if you're starting now. It's like, what is it, about 1,100 episodes now, I think. So yeah, like, the live action's a little more condensed if you want to get caught up. But, if you're a purist and you want to see the anime, like I did the math on it a while ago, actually. I think it would take about 14 and a half days of like actual time. So if you don't eat, sleep, or take breaks, you could watch it in 2 weeks if you can survive the sleep deprivation. But yeah, I do have a few One Piece pops. I don't have a huge One Piece collection because I'm not 100% caught up on the series. It's so long. I only have so much time to watch anime. But I really like the pop rides they did with the ships, the Comic-Con drops. I lined up early to get the Going Merry when that one came out. And I actually just recently at Fan Expo, I got it signed by Colleen Clinkenbeard, who voices Luffy. So that
Ooh,
one's pretty cool.
nice.
It's probably my favorite one in my One Piece collection is the Going Merry.
Yeah, so as terms to the pops, right in my notes, one of the things I wrote was pop rides because I know I wasn't going to remember all the names. I know there was the two Luffy's and there's the Trafalgar. I also enjoyed the look of Buggy the Clown. Don't know exactly who that character is, but he looks really awesome. And then the
Yeah,
Tony
that was a
Tony
cool pop.
Chopper. Yeah, the Tony Chopper also, how they did it as a flocked pop a long time ago. And then they re-released it, which kind of ticked people off. But I mean, for those that couldn't get it, I mean, that's good on them. But those are kind of the highlights in my mind for the pops, although the pops are amazing overall. So it's not saying like, oh, these are specifically like the three best that I'm mentioning.
You mentioned the Buggy. That one I thought was really cool. I picked one of those up when it came out to do a quick review, and it was cool because they had like his body was all segmented because he was all cut up, and it actually looked like the pieces of the body were floating separately from each other. And I thought it was a really unique design for a pop. It looked really cool.
Next anime is Yu-Gi-Oh! Now, I know you mentioned that you don't know too much about Yu-Gi-Oh!, but you might be able to talk about a little bit of pops, but this is where I come in because Yu-Gi-Oh! Was
Yeah.
basically my childhood. Speaking of YTV from earlier, that was one of those shows I definitely watched. Of course, there is the Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters anime that came out April 18th, 2000, all the way until September 29th, 2004, and that's also the date, I believe, for the Japanese dub version, while the English version came out, I believe, in 2001 to 2006, if I'm not mistaken, with a little arc actually that came out for just the North American version only. And then there's also Yu-Gi-Oh! GX I'll mention because of the newer Funko Pops that have come out October 6, 2004 to March 26, 2008. And yeah, so Yu-Gi-Oh! I find is one of maybe even the most underrated anime of all time because I don't see a lot of people really talking about Yu-Gi-Oh! All that much. I recently seen within the last couple of months someone doing a top 100 list of the best animes, and somehow, some way, Yu-Gi-Oh! Was not even on this list.
It didn't even make
100.
top 100?
It didn't make top 100 in this person's opinion. I love the series, and I think this and another anime we're going to be talking about is one of those ones where I think you could easily recommend a casual person who like doesn't watch anime that they'll be able to get into this one. I'm confident that they'll like it. But then I guess I'll mention about different characters and Funko Pops that I do like in the series. Of course, Dark Magician, probably the most popular duel monster in the entire Yu-Gi-Oh! Series. Exodia, the Forbidden One, which they did an excellent pop of that. I still wish that the way they did this pop, and I mentioned this actually on one of our first fandom related podcasts back in 2020 on Yu-Gi-Oh, that they should have done this like they did with the WWE Build-A-Figures, because in the series, the way to do Exodia is that you have to have 5 cards and it's body parts. So there's a torso with the head, both arms and both legs to actually summon Exodia.
Okay.
So that would have been awesome that they did a wave of Yu-Gi-Oh pops, and each of those pops came with a piece of Exodia. So that would have been awesome.
Oh, that
and then
would
you
be
can,
cool.
And then you can send into Funko like, hey, I got it complete, and then they can send you like a box and insert. So then you can officially have it that way. That would have been wicked, but that was too advanced for 2018, 2019 for Funko to do. That's something they could probably pull off realistically in 2024 now, but back then, not so much, but would have been awesome. Summon Skull was something that myself and MD really wanted for a long time. Same with Time Wizard, and then Karibo, which also there is the Flocked and Glow in the Dark version, which I still have yet to get that pop. I really need to get that pop soon because that's awesome. 2 specifications in one. And then Yami Merrick, I'm going to mention because even though he isn't the most popular villain, I was surprised he was done before some of those very popular villains. Toy Temple exclusive for the Funko Pop. That was a wicked way that they pulled off that pop, and I'm so glad that they made it and that I own it in my collection. And in case anyone is wondering, I do have the what was Box Lunch exclusive Blue Eyes White Dragon that came in the Pop and Tea bundle that at one point was worth $400, just the pop itself, and somehow the t-shirt on PPG is somehow also worth $400. So it's been sitting in my closet because like, do I want to like, if it is actually worth $400, like devalue that t-shirt price? I don't exactly know.
You
But,
can't wear a $400 t-shirt, man. That's too collectible
at that point. But without really knowing about Yu-Gi-Oh, but what you know of, what are your thoughts of it like so far?
I honestly, like, I don't know a lot of the characters, but every time I'm at the store and I see the pops, I've been tempted to buy them, even though I'm not that into it, just because the pops look really cool. And they've done like a few of the 6-inch ones, like the Blue-Eyed Dragon and all that. Like those look really nice. And I feel like those would display really cool out of the box too, actually.
All right, so we can move on to the next anime, and it is Naruto. So, of course, there is Naruto, the original, that came out from 2002 to 2007. And then there is Naruto Shippuden that came out from 2007 to 2017. I had watched the OG Naruto all the way through for the sake of a YouTube video, actually, that I was doing. I think it was a tier maker list of Naruto pops, and I wanted to do that and Naruto Shippuden, but I just didn't have enough time. Then I've noticed recently, it's weird that the entire lineup of Naruto pops is Shippuden and not OG, yet obviously Shippuden came out after. I'm not sure if maybe you might know the reason why it's Shippuden and not OG.
I have heard, this is not confirmed, but from what I've heard from a lot of the Pop Insider guys, they've said it was a licensing issue, and it was actually rumored that they were going to be doing original pops from it, I think like a year or 2 years ago, something like that, and they had like a leaked list of all the ones they were going to do and when it was coming out, and then apparently it all got shut down at the last minute because of a licensing issue. But when it started, my theory is they did the same as Dragon Ball, right? Like Dragon Ball Z was so popular, it's the higher power levels, it's the cooler moves, and same with Shippuden, right? It was kind of the continuation of the series. A lot of people got into that before they went back and watched the OG. They could make cooler pops from it, so I think they kind of started with that and then went to backtrack and then may have ran into those licensing issues. I'm not sure.
As terms, I'll go back to actually the series series, since I did watch Naruto the OG, there's some really awesome characters. I mean, the character development for Naruto, awesome. But there are some of those. I'm always, for some reason, a lot of these animes that I have seen, I'm always a fan of more of like the non-main characters of the shows. Like two that I can think of is Jiraiya, or
Mhm.
Pervy Sage, as Naruto would say, is hilarious. I love Jiraiya. I think he's hilarious. And another one that I do enjoy is Rock Lee. I think Rock Lee was pretty entertaining. I think he
Yeah.
reminds me a lot of my younger self, where I feel like it's funny to laugh at him because he takes things so seriously. And that's what I think
Yeah.
I was kind of like when I was younger. So I can kind of relate to that and look back like, yeah, that's kind of like me. So I did enjoy those two characters. One of my favorite Naruto moments is when Naruto does the sexy jutsu. I think that's absolutely hilarious in the show, and especially the scene with Jiraiya and how he doesn't know it's Naruto, and then when he sees it's like, no, what? I love those moments. So I'm gonna have to eventually either like rewatch Naruto or just go from Shippuden. Maybe I'll just watch like a 30-minute recap of the entire series of Naruto so I don't have to go through however
Yeah.
many hours it took, but it was enjoyable from what I watched.
I was actually surprised they made that Funko Pop too, that moment with the sexy jutsu that you said when Pop got announced. It was absolutely hilarious. I was like, go Funko, man. They're taking a risk on this one. I like it.
Rated R in a way before some of the rated R stuff that they've been doing now. But the pops I had in my notes was Box Lunch exclusive Sexy Jutsu Naruto, Hot Topic exclusive Rock Lee, and then the pop rides of Jiraiya on the Toad.
Yeah, I think that was one of the first pops I picked up from that line. I have both of the Naruto and the Jiraiya on their Toads, and they're such cool pops. They look amazing. Like I do keep my stuff in the box just for stackability and easier to display, but I kind of feel bad leaving those in the box. They look so amazing from every angle. They're amazing.
Next anime we're talking about is Fullmetal Alchemist. So there is Fullmetal Alchemist, the OG from 2003 to 2004, and Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, which they did, I believe they did do pops for both of them now, as I realize, because I remember seeing like the boxes
Yeah.
recently, from 2009 to 2010. And I will 100% say that I have not watched Fullmetal Alchemist at all. So this is one of the reasons that I'm glad that you're here to talk about Fullmetal Alchemist.
Oh, if I had known that, I would have made you promise to watch it before I agreed to do this. I'm just kidding. It's a fantastic show. It's a lot of the top anime lists. It makes it. It's arguably one of the best animes, especially one of the more modern ones. Like Dragon Ball paved the way back in the '80s and stuff. But in terms of 2000 animes, Full Metal Alchemist, the original and Brotherhood, I've watched both. They're both just phenomenal. I love them. I was actually really happy they started doing pops from both lines as well.
Yeah, and I did write a couple of pops on the list. So the only ones that
What do we
like
got?
stood out to me, just a couple. It's King Bradley, just because of like the chase that they ended up doing, also with like
Yeah.
what seems to be like, I would assume he wears an eye patch because his eyes deformed. That's what I'm gonna assume. And then the glow in the dark scar that they recently did, Entertainment Earth
Oh
exclusive.
yes, I haven't picked that one up yet. I have the original Scar up on the shelf over there, but I haven't picked up the glow in the dark one. It does look really cool. The one that I did find though was the new ones from Brotherhood, is the Edward Elric, where he's doing the alchemy on the ground. They have the clear effects coming up all around him.
Mhm.
I actually found the chase for that one just sitting on the shelf at Walmart when I went.
I believe you did a pop hunt and you showed that off on your channel. So anyone that
Yeah.
wants to view that video, go on Spencer's channel. You can see him find a glow in the dark chase. Next
Now I also
anime.
oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, I was just gonna point out, just for fun, one of my favorite Full Metal Alchemist pops that I have, and it's not because of the pop itself, but it's the original Alphonse, the big suit of armor guy. One of my favorites because I actually met the voice actor a couple years ago at Anime North, so that's the only signed one that I have from that series.
So now moving on to the next anime, it is Fairy Tail, released October 12th, 2009, and ended
Fairy
September
Tail.
29th, 2019. And this is another one that I have not watched, but I definitely wrote in my notes, specifically that Spencer had said I could talk about Fairy Tail for hours, which is why Fairy Tail is one of the 10 that we're talking about on the pod today.
He put it in here just for me, you guys. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's by far, it's my favorite anime. Dragon Ball is very, very close close because I grew up with it. But in terms of actually dissecting the show itself, Fairy Tail is my favorite anime. I absolutely love it. I'm really excited too because it just came back. There's a sequel now, Fairy Tail 100-Year Quest, that's airing every week on Crunchyroll. It's so exciting. But yeah, for the Funko Pops, they haven't done a huge line. Like there's maybe 20 at most. And I have all of them except for one. I'm missing one, but it's one of those lines where I'm kind of mad that they haven't done more Funko Pops. They've done a lot of the main characters, and then they've done one or two like really obscure side characters, but they haven't done like it's like I don't know what you know about the show, but they operate in a magical guild, and they haven't done the master of the guild yet, Master Makarov. He's like one of the most pivotal characters in the show, and they still haven't done a Makarov Funko, which is very upsetting to me. I really would love to see one of those added to the line as soon as possible.
Yeah, and the only one, I guess I thought I wrote multiple, but it must have been the only one I wrote. Gajeel Dragon Force. I think it was an Emerald City Comic Con exclusive. It was all
Yes.
metallic. That's the only one I remember because I think I remember going to, it must have been Hot Topic in line for a different pop, and I noticed that, and that's how I remember about that.
That one's a really cool one. Yeah, I definitely lined up early for that one too to make sure I got it. I don't know if you're going to watch the show or not. I don't want to spoil too much, but one type of magic that is very rare is called a Dragon Slayer. Gajiel's a Dragon Slayer magic, and it's kind of like their version of Super Saiyan, where they, if they train long enough and hard enough, they can unlock something called Dragon Force, which changes their appearance a little bit, and they can take on the characteristics of a dragon, the strength of a dragon when they fight. So that's what that one was based off of, and I thought that one was really cool. Actually, yeah, I was super happy to add that one to my collection.
Next anime is Attack on Titan, April 7th, 2013 to November 5th, 2023. November 5th, that's MD Shady's birthday.
Oh, no way.
Once again, Attack on Titan, I have not seen, but my only snippet of Attack on Titan that I know of is because they had done a collab with Fortnite where a couple of skins came out. Eren Yeager was in the Battle Pass, so I do have them. And then there was also, I had to write down, I think it's Mikasa it's pronounced, and Levi on the item shop that you can actually buy. And then throughout the game, you can also use what's called the Thunder Spear and the ODM gear
Oh, cool.
on Fortnite. So judging by your reaction, you definitely know what those are for sure. ODM gear was pretty fun to use throughout the game, swinging around and stuff. So I do enjoy that and the Thunder Spear. But yeah, that's my only stuff I really know about Attack on Titan was that snippet I got from Fortnite. But I know there was a few people that I know of that actually like started watching Attack on Titan and were like, yeah, this show's pretty sweet. You should watch it. I'm like, okay.
AOT is really good, and it's not as scary to get into as like Naruto or One Piece because AOT is like 90-ish episodes, so it's pretty doable if you're getting into it as a newbie. I actually made a deal with Fish from K-Dog and Fish because he's never watched an anime, so I told him I would watch Stranger Things if he watches AOT because I know he's gonna love it. But it's a very dark show. It's very cool. The Funko Pops look awesome, especially the Titan ones because it's just such a unique design they get to throw in the Funko Pops with that. I think they're really cool. But yeah, I definitely recommend that one for your anime list if you're thinking about it.
As terms to pops, I did write two down, and one was the Colossal Titan. I believe it's the OG one that I wrote because I did write just, it didn't specifically say, like, let's say metallic or whatever. I don't exactly remember if there was like specification, but the one that I do enjoy, and I remember talking about this a couple of years ago on the pod, was the Battle Levi. I believe it was an Alliance
Oh
Entertainment.
yeah.
It's one of those weird names that you don't remember for an exclusive, but it's like a distributor exclusive where it's
Mhm.
just it's got like the blood around and it's got like that base where I'm not sure if it's like dirt as he's running or some sort of, I don't know. Obviously, if you guys are like viewing the podcast and not listening to it, you'll see the picture of what I'm talking about on the screen right now of what I'm trying to explain. But I thought that was a really cool pop, and one of those reasons why I could probably like watch this show is because of inspiration of what these pops look like, to where it's like this looks pretty cool.
That one was one of my favorite ones that came out. The Battle Levi. I was really excited when they announced that one. I thought they did a great job of like the steam all around him, the blood splatter on his face. That one was really cool because the first wave of AOT pops that came out was like earlier in Funko before they started adding those kind of details, and they were all just
Yeah.
kind of standing there holding their swords, stagnant position. So it was nice that they added some battle poses, some different energy effects and stuff like that. I think that one's really cool.
Next anime we're talking about is My Hero Academia, April 3rd, 2016, and it's still going today. This is what I alluded to earlier when I was talking about Yu-Gi-Oh! And how I feel like MHA is kind of like the anime that should be recommended to those that are just getting into anime and want something easy to get to. I think it was definitely super easy for me to get to. I will say I have seen, finally, wow, DK actually mentioned an anime he's seen besides Yu-Gi-Oh! So it was during the pandemic that I watched My Hero Academia, and I watched, I believe it was the first 4 seasons because that's what was out at the time. And I
Mhm.
know they're on, I want to say, is it 6 or 7 that they're on now?
A 7 right now.
They're on 7, yeah. So I got a lot to catch up on still. But yeah, I love the concept of the anime and how it practically feels like Japanese MCU in a way because it's like superheroes. They got their
Yeah.
powers, or in this case, they call them quirks. It's just super easy to get to. The characters are so easy to be invested in, especially Deku. I love the fact that like they tell you about how each of these characters, they're like born with their powers because of their parents, but Deku was never born with any powers or didn't
Mhm.
have any. And then especially like I feel like it won't even really be a spoiler for many people because I'm sure anyone that's listening to this has probably seen My Hero, but like the fact like you hear later on that All Might was actually someone who, if I'm not mistaken, didn't have powers either and he developed
Yeah.
them. So that was cool to like find out. So that whole series is awesome. And even like once again, not only the main characters, but some of those side characters like Tokoyami. I enjoyed Tokoyami. He was pretty cool. Mineta is hilarious. And then My Hero also has some of like the best villains. I find the villains are so awesome in this, and
Yeah.
one I definitely will mention while talking about the pops. But yeah, that's overall a great series, and definitely for me personally, like if I'm not recommending Yu-Gi-Oh for you to watch, watch My Hero Academia. I think it's the easiest one to get into.
It's definitely easy to get into, yeah, because it picks up pretty quick too. Like you watch 1 or 2 episodes, they get kind of right into the, you're like, okay, I see where this is going and I like it. But they do have, like you said, a lot of cool supporting cast too. It's not all about the main. Like I feel like Dragon Ball at this point's gotten really down to it's just Goku and Vegeta all the time, right? Whereas My Hero, Deku's the main character, but they focus a lot more on the supporting cast and it takes everybody to get the win, right? My favorite character is actually the teacher Aizawa, who does not get enough screen
Oh,
time, but he's so cool.
yeah, and as terms to pops, first one I will mention is Minoru Mineta because I have been wanting Funko, even though I don't have actually any My Hero pops, I've been wanting them to make Mineta for a while because we have seen kind of that trend that Funko does where they take 2 of the characters, they make an abundance of them, but then not enough of characters who haven't actually had any pops. And Mineta, for the longest time, I'd go like doing like Comic-Con predictions for like every single con and going like 5 in a row saying Minoru Mineta, not happening. Minoru Mineta, not happening. And then finally, Child's Collectibles exclusive, and you got the Glow Chase, I believe, that comes with it. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
took you long enough. But I'm actually even surprised that they made even Gran Torino before they made Minoru Mineta, not going to lie. But that was really cool to finally get him also. He was a funny character in the first season. So then another pop I really do enjoy, I don't know what it is, and I've said this to many people, the way that Weekend All Might looks better than buffed All Might for some reason. Just the way that the design looks. I don't know what it is, but I just love the way that he looks as Weekend. The Weekend All Might pop they did, Box Lunch exclusive Glow in the Dark, where he does have a suit on it. It's right after, I believe it would have been season 3 when he has the All for One battle. And then like he shrinks
Oh,
because
so epic.
yeah, because I think at that point, if I'm not mistaken, that's where we find out that like he can't use his buffness so much at that point, and that's when he's like retired. Always thought, you know what, I'm probably gonna get that, but I still haven't gotten it. And then the last pop, and actually, believe it or not, is my favorite character of the series, and I feel like I really wish that he would have lasted longer, and that is Hero Killer Stain. That character
Oh
is
yeah.
awesome. He was in season 2 and he had the quirk of like took part of your blood or like sucked it up, but basically like depending on your blood type is how long you're paralyzed. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's such a crazy quirk. Like I'm like looking around now, like, all right, he better not show up taking my, I think I'm O negative. I don't exactly remember what blood type I am, but that was pretty crazy. The series, like he's facing 2 people. He'll take one of the blood and they're paralyzed for like, I think it was like some of them were like 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And even like depending on like the rare one, I think it's like you're permanently permanently paralyzed. That was just
I
a
want to know
crazy.
how he found out he had that quirk. Like, how did you accidentally do that one day and be like, oh, if I drink people's blood, I can paralyze them? Like, where? How did it get to that?
But I think luckily, if I'm not mistaken, I think I read up a bit of a spoiler because like the mangas were made before the anime and like most of it is like based off of that I heard he's making a comeback or he made a comeback at some point. So he's not like dead. I could be wrong and I hope that's the case because I would love to have seen more of Hero Killer Stain in the series. Something about Stain just was really intriguing to me. I'm like, damn, this character's awesome.
He had a cool storyline too, where it was more like Shigaraki just wants to be evil for the sake of being evil, right? But like Stain had principles, he had a reason and an end goal that he was really trying to accomplish to better society. So it's one of those villains that you're like, I see what you mean, but you're going about it the wrong way, which kind of gives them an interesting dynamic.
And yeah, with the Funko Pop, I'll tell you about all those stories. So I went to my local GameStop because I believe that's where shared to for New York Comic Con 2019. I want to say it was when it came out. And this was the time I hadn't seen the show yet. And there was 4 of them available and I didn't pick one up. And now
Oh no.
I wish I would have picked one up then, knowing how much it's going to be worth now and the fact that I ended up enjoying the show and that specific character. So that's kind of one that I regret on. But hopefully at some point with Funko liking to like redo characters that they've made end up becoming like grails in a way that they make a newer Hero Killer Stain with like a ton of blood compared to what it already had. And then that may be when I end up getting it. But that may actually be my favorite pop of the My Hero Academia set.
Definitely a cool looking pop. I hope they do remake them so you can snag one.
All right, so now we are on the 10th and final anime of this podcast before we go to our honorable mentions and then the little fun game at the end. It is
All right.
Demon Slayer. April
Yes.
6th, 2019 until June 30th, 2024. Didn't know it officially ended this year, or maybe Wikipedia was actually wrong this time around. I mean, when was it really
It
right?
is ending. I think the manga's over, but the show's not over. So if you do know anything, please don't ruin it for me. I've avoided spoilers on this one.
No, so luckily for this, I've only seen the first season, and that was
Okay.
also during the pandemic. So I don't know, maybe I might have mixed up the manga dates with the anime because sometimes they'll give me the link to the manga instead of the anime portion of the Wikipedia page. But so
Oh,
for
okay.
Demon Slayer, I only watched the first season, and I do plan on watching it again. Besides, obviously, I want to catch up on My Hero Academia. I think Demon Slayer would be right after that because that first season was awesome. I love
Oh,
the whole
so good.
premise of like Tanjiro, his sister's missing, finds out she becomes a demon, but of course, he doesn't want to kill her because he feels that there's still Nezuko inside and not like full on demon. So that's pretty much what happens throughout the series is protecting her. And then he becomes basically like a demon slayer so that he can protect her, but also take out demons that could be attacking. Such a really cool premise. And yeah, also, if you've watched the entire series of Demon Slayer, for anyone listening to this, don't spoil it. I still have to watch it, but I do plan on watching it at some point.
Yeah, Demon Slayer was such a good show. Like it was kind of a first episode hook. Like if you can make it through the first episode and not have interest in the show, don't watch it. But like that's impossible. But yeah, the Funko Pops are cool. When they first got announced, I actually wasn't planning on getting them. I was like, no, I'm gonna get a couple of the like I do anime statues as well. So I was like, I'll get a couple nice statues and that'll be it for Demon Slayer. And then I bought 1 or 2 or 10 right off the bat. I can't remember. And now I have like 50 of them. I don't know. It escalated really quickly because the animation is so pretty in the show and the Funko Pops are so pretty too because they have all the opportunities to do like the water effects, the fire, the lightning, all these different elements that they use. Every time I see one, I have to buy it. I can't not get them. They're too nice.
Yeah, this is also a show just like My Hero where I found that I really liked a lot of the background characters just as much
Mhm.
as the main characters. Like example, my favorite character in the show was Inosuke. I found once again, just like I mentioned with who was it? It might have been Rock Lee earlier, where it was like it's funny to laugh at him because he takes things so seriously. And that once again, I think was something I resonated towards him. I also love Zenitsu. I think he's hilarious
Oh
with
my
like
God,
how
so funny.
he can attack people while he's sleeping. I think that's hilarious. I wish that that could happen with, I think all of us wish that like in the middle of our sleep, like if someone broke into our house, it's like, ba bam, just attacking them. I think that's hilarious. There's just a lot of cool characters, main and supporting. And then in terms to Funko Pops, of course, they made so many Tanjiros. I can't exactly remember exactly what one would be my favorite because Tanjiro obviously would be like the Goku and Vegeta and the Deku and All Might of Demon Slayer when it comes to Funko Pop. So there's been so many, so it's hard to keep track. I do enjoy the flocked Inosuke that they did for Chow's Collectibles, where the chase
Yeah.
was unmasked. That was pretty cool. And I believe both of them were actually flocked. It wasn't just one was flocked, one was not flocked. I think both of them were flocked. It was just massive.
Yeah, I think the common is more flocked because he has the mask on, but the
Yeah,
chase, I have both of them. The chase is flocked too, but it's like just his
the
pants, I
outfit.
think, or yeah,
Yeah.
just the outfit is flocked.
Had to write this one on the list. I believe it's pronounced Muzan, which is the character that the casual people refer to as Michael Jackson, or looks like
Yeah.
Michael Jackson
He
in the
really
show,
does.
which I do remember him from that first season that I watched. So luckily I know about him than just the guy that looks like Michael Jackson. One that I wrote down, and I remember people were wanting this one for a while. I'm not sure if I'm going to pronounce the name correctly, but it's Renoku. They made the glow in the dark variant that's exclusive to
Oh,
one.
yeah, Kojiro Rengoku, I
Rengo. Okay,
believe.
so what? So
Yeah.
it's funny. I used to say Rengoku and thinking this is definitely not how you pronounce it. Like I'm gonna butcher this. So
Yeah.
I thought someone said Renoku. I'm like, okay, that's how you pronounce it. But no, this whole entire time I could have said Rengoku, and I'm not just referring to like Goku from Dragon Ball. All right, so I can
Yeah, it
officially
feels it
say
feels weird saying it that way, but apparently that is how they say it. Yeah, it's Rengoku.
Rengoku. I can finally say Rengoku again and not get crapped on. Yeah, people were waiting for that pop in a while, and it looks excellent with the glow in the dark. I find whenever, besides green, if you can get something related to fire that glows in the darkest turns to pops, those always turn out
Mhm.
very well. So I think that's why this pop ended up turning out really well, and definitely one of my favorites of the Demon Slayer lineup.
I like that one a lot too. I'm a little biased though, because like I really like him as a character as well. So I was really happy when they did that pop. Fun fact though about the glows, I do a lot of when I'm reviewing the pops, I do glow in the dark pictures of them, which can be a little finicky depending on how they paint it. Orange and red is one of the harder ones to do. It actually fades a lot quicker than the blues when you charge them up.
I always find blue, you have to get like, so I have like just the little hand, actually, funny enough, I actually have it here, just a handheld black light. And I feel like with blue, it's not the greatest. You need like the big ass black lights to actually charge up blue a lot of times, while green is so freaking easy to just light
Yeah,
up
the
5 minutes
green's the
and it's
easiest. Yeah.
even sometimes white can glow pretty decently depending on I guess realistically if it's paint or like the actual vinyl glow. So Demon Slayer overall with pops, sidetracking myself by just talking about glow in the dark pops, yeah, they do an excellent job. I wish I can say like what I want to see next, but I've only seen the first season, so I can't be like I want to see this next.
It's funny you mentioned that because I can actually touch on that without spoiling anything for you if you want. They're so far behind on Funkos. For the longest time, they only had season one. The most recent ones are only from technically like the third arc. It's weird. They consider arcs and seasons different things, but there's
Mm,
what you've seen, and then there's kind of a mini arc, and then the next main story arc. That's where they're making Funkos for right now. It's called the Entertainment District arc.
okay.
And they're only making Funkos for that now, but there's an entire other arc and season after that that they haven't even got to yet. So I think there's a lot more Demon Slayer pops to come, and especially for the final season's going to be released as a 3-part movie trilogy in theaters, and there's so much hype around it that you know they're going to make Funkos after that drops.
All right, so I guess now it is time for the honorable mentions. I'm sure a lot of
All
people have been
right.
waiting for this because they'll be like, "Where's this anime? Where's that anime?"
They're
So
mad at us
a
for not
lot
touching
of
on their favorite.
a lot of the ones I put down is because they have made pops, but I'm sure you can list down ones that haven't had pops, and of course it's anime in general. So first one is Hunter x Hunter or Hunter x Hunter. I'm not sure what the actual pronunciation of the title is, but they've had a lot of pops, and I know people do enjoy that. Another one is Jujutsu Kaisen, which I obviously have not seen either. Shout out to Pat over at Pops and Props who does enjoy that show, and I'm sure he's been waiting for us to talk about that, but we couldn't. Chainsaw Man is like the newest set of pops for anime, realistically, and they've done a great
Mm.
job with like Chainsaw Man himself, and then I believe it's Pochita with a couple of different variants. Bleach has had quite a bit of pops and arguably regarded as a lot of people's favorite anime. Black Clover is another one with Funko Pops also. And then one I had to write down because of the amount of comments I've seen in the last like 4 years requesting JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Pops. Haven't seen them, but people keep mentioning about JoJo's as like needs to be the next anime that gets pops.
I feel like those would sell so well if they actually did them. The JoJo fans are like such diehard fans. They would eat that right up.
Any honorable mentions you have that I didn't list?
Oh man, I'm trying to think of some that they haven't done pops for that I want to see. There was rumors that they were going to do Dr. Stone pops. I actually really like Dr. Stone, super awesome anime, and they had announced they were doing pops, and a couple people had like pre-order leaks up and stuff, and then it all kind of disappeared. So I don't know what's going on with that, but Funko, get on it. We want Dr. Stone.
Dr. Stone, as requested by Combo Collectibles. And I guess that'll be it for honorable mentions, but we're going to move on to the little game that I actually have not done with any guests in like years. So the
All
game
right.
is called Keep, Sell, or Destroy, which is almost what I call the Funko equivalent to the game Kiss, Marry, Kill, except I list off 3 Funko Pops, and you have to decide which one you're keeping, which one you're selling, and which one you are destroying out of the 3. We got
Oh no, this is gonna hurt my soul.
there's going to be 5 rounds of this, each of them being from a different anime that we have talked about on this podcast today. So, Spencer, are you ready?
I am as ready as I'll ever be to talk about destroying a collectible, I guess.
However, you want to destroy it, whether it is lighting it on fire, running over with a car, or even using Kamehameha.
Okay, well, at least I can use a Kamehameha. That makes it a little better.
So, first one is Dragon Ball Z. So, here are the 3 pops. Hot
Okay.
Topic exclusive over 9,000 Vegeta, the Galactic Toys exclusive 6-inch Shenron, and the Emerald City Comic Con 2020 exclusive Glow in the Dark Perfect Cell. Keep, Sell, Destroy.
Oh, okay. This one's actually easier than I thought it would be. The over 9,000 Vegeta, I would destroy. Not because it's not a cool pop. I have like 30 Vegeta pops. So if I had to get rid of one, I guess it would be that. I think I would sell because it's probably worth the most. And they're kind of hard to come by. A lot of people would like that. And I'd say keep Shenron because personally, my Shenron is signed by the voice actor Chris Sabat. So
would you destroy Vegeta because your power level is over 9,000?
well, I think it would be fun if you could destroy the pop, like because he crushed his scouter as he said it's over 9,000.
yeah.
So we could say it's over 9,000 and crush the Funko Pop. That would be pretty cool.
Next up is One Piece, and I do got a little bit of a theme going on with this one.
Okay.
So here are the 3 pops. The Luffy on Going Merry pop rides from New York Comic Con. The Luffy on Thousand Sunny pop rides from CCXP that same year. I think it was 2022. And then the Trafalgar on Polar Tang rides from WonderCon in 2023. So it's all 3 of the pop rides, Comic-Con exclusives from One Piece. Keep, Sell, and Destroy.
Dang, that's hard because they're all so cool. I think I would keep the Going Merry because there's the original ship. And again, on a personal level, I have that one signed, so I can justify it with that. I guess sell Trafalgar and destroy the Thousand Sunny. The Thousand Sunny looks really cool, but they did it so soon after the Going Merry that it kind of felt weird, like because everybody wanted one of the ships done for so long. And then they did 2 of them like a few months apart. And it was like, you just did that. And I guess we would have to destroy it by like, it's One Piece. We'd have to like send it floating on the water and like shoot it with a flaming arrow or something epic like that, right? Burial at sea. I don't know.
Next one's My Hero Academia, New York Comic Con 2019 exclusive Dobby, New York Comic Con 2019 exclusive Hero Killer Stain, and the San Diego Comic Con 2014 OG Ochako.
You got to sell Ochako because I'm pretty sure that one's worth way more than the other ones. So if you were going to sell one, it would be logical. And then it was Dobby and Stain. God, that's a tough one. I think, okay, here's what I'll do. I would destroy the Dobby and I would keep the Stain and I would give it to you because I know you really want that one for your collection.
Yeah, let's go. All right, next one's Naruto. We got ourselves box lunch exclusive Sexy Jutsu Naruto, specialty series Glow in the Dark Naruto 6-Path Sage, and the Hot Topic exclusive Flock 6-inch Kurama. Keep, Sell, or Destroy.
Oh, geez. Why is this the hardest one? It's not even my favorite of the animes we've talked about, but this seems like the toughest decision for some reason. Gives Kurama the 6-Path Sage, and what was the first one again? Sorry.
It's Sexy Jutsu Naruto.
Oh man, as funny as that one is, I guess I would scrap that one. It's hilarious, but the other 2 are just way too cool to keep that one in the mix. Ooh, I would keep the Naruto and sell the Kurama. It's pretty much a toss up because they're both really, really cool pops. So I'm just going to say the Naruto takes up a little less shelf space.
All right, final one is Demon Slayer.
Okay.
Walmart exclusive Glow in the Dark Rengoku, saying it right this time. The Funko Shop exclusive Shinobu. And then the San Diego Comic Con exclusive Tenjiro and Yorokadaki 2-pack. Keep, Sell, or Destroy.
Okay, I'm going to say keep Shinobu because I actually missed those when they dropped and I really, really want one for my collection and I'm kind of salty that I don't have one still. So if I had the opportunity, I would definitely get one of those. And then, ooh, man, guess I would destroy the Rengoku even though I really like him as a character. It's the exact same pose as the common. So like I could live without the glow in the dark because I have the common. And I guess I would sell the 2-pack because 2-packs go for a little more. But it's also cool because the 2-pack was the only time they've done Urokodaki. He doesn't have a single pop, so you know I kind of like that one.
All right, and that will conclude this episode of a Funko Popcast. And if you enjoyed our anime-themed edition of a Funko Popcast featuring Spencer from Combo Collectibles, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know your favorite animes down below. Maybe it's one we didn't even mention at all, but hope to see you guys on another edition of a Funko Popcast or another video in general here on the channel. 1, 2, 3, I'm out of here.